President Biden just wrapped up his State of the Union address, focusing on Ukraine, the Middle East, and reproductive rights here in the U.S. He also discussed chip manufacturing, and one of the most contentious domestic issues he touched on was that of the U.S.-Mexico border, saying both sides need to come together to pass a bill.
I believe that given the opportunity for a majority in the House and Senate would endorse the bill as well, a majority right now. But unfortunately, politics has derailed this bill so far. I'm told my predecessor called members of Congress in the Senate to demand they block the bill.
Alabama Senator Katie Britt gave the GOP response, and she argued the country needs someone else in charge.
President Biden just doesn't get it. He's out of touch. Under his administration, families are worse off, our communities are less safe, and our country is less secure.
KVUE political director Ashley Godot was one of 7 journalists across the country to be invited to the White House ahead of tonight's address. She's in D.C. now and caught up with Austin Congressman Lloyd Doggett after the address was over.
I'm joined now by Congressman Lloyd Doggett, who represents Austin. Congressman, thank you for taking some time out to talk with us.
Great to be with you as always, Ashley.
You know, initial reaction to tonight's address.
Well, it was a really fiery and energetic speech. I thought the president had a strong voice for freedom both at home and abroad. At home, particularly his comments about reproductive freedom. We just can't let House Republicans, a majority of whom have signed up to deny families who want a child an opportunity to do that and insist that some families that are not ready for a child, that they have to have one. I think that is so very important to stand up for reproductive freedom. And of course abroad, as you can tell from my pen that I've worn every day since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, I feel very strongly that we have to fight for freedom abroad. And the only thing that is keeping those weapons that Ukraine desperately needs from getting there is the Putin appeasement caucus within the House, inspired by President Trump. We count the days that they've obstructed the aid, but the Ukrainians are counting the lives that are lost by not getting the assistance they need and the ammunition they don't have when the Russians counterattack.
You know, another thing we heard him talk about that directly impacts the people in Texas is the border. Are you satisfied with what he had to say today, and do you think there will be action?
Well, the problem with action is that President Trump put a stop to it. We had one of the most conservative Republicans in the Senate designated to work out a compromise on the border to provide stronger security, but with respect to immigrants. And President Trump said, don't do it, and the House immediately followed his lead. So I don't think that everything that was in the Senate bill was exactly right. I think some changes would have been appropriate in it. But clearly we need to take action, and to say do nothing after claiming that there's a national security threat here is just totally contradictory. You know, we had a big hearing this week in my committee on nursing homes. I feel very strongly we need stronger staffing standards there. But those who say they can't find the workers, they're waiting there ready to work as immigrants, and we need them in this country.
Final message to the folks back home in Austin about how you're feeling now that this address has been given about the work that's going to be done in this next year.
Well, we have some work to do here in Congress, but our neighbors across Central Texas have some work to do too. I've never seen an election where there was a bigger choice between democracy and autocracy. President Trump, I say believe what President Trump has said, former President Trump, when he says I'll be a dictator on day one, when he says he wants his generals to be more like Hitler's generals, when he says he wants to terminate the Affordable Care Act, when he says he wants to expel all undocumented immigrants. If those are your values, go out and vote for him. But if you believe, as I do, that this could be our last election if he prevails, then please go out and do everything you can to save our democracy.
Congressman, we thank you for your time. We're reporting in Washington, D.C. Ashley Godot, KVUE News.